This is ADVTRES, and we're headed to Alabama Hills for a weekend overland camping adventure. So the drive down to Alabama Hills is close to 7 hours from the Bay Area, kind of outside of Death Valley. Left really early in the morning. One nice thing about that is you get to see the sunrise, linked up with the rest of the crew, and we started the long trek down. We reached the Trona Pinnacles Gateway, Forest Road, RM 143, and kind of set up. Now Trona Pinnacles is, you can get to it from Ridgecrest. Here we stretched our legs, restocked our snack piles, and then prepared to head out. Now the roads through this area are, they're not marked, so we ended up taking what I'll call an unplanned detour, which put us on the wrong side of the rail track. And even though it was kind of an unplanned detour, it was still kind of cool, right? You can see the white is a lot of salt, and we got to do impromptu rail crossing, which I've never done, but it's good to know how. And completed that successfully, and then got back on the proper road and entered into Trona Pinnacles proper. The Pinnacles in this area is the site of a lot of filming. Star Trek: The Final Frontier, a scene was filmed there. And these spires were created by the same type of action as Mono Lake. At one point near Cartago, there was a steamboat port. And this entire area used to be a very large lake. And these spires that were created, probably not created during that history, but definitely created, 10, 20, 30,000 years ago. And so we entered into Trona Pinnacles, kind of drove around, looked at some of the scenery, thought about, the crew from Star Trek out there filming. If you're a William Shatner buff, this is, going to be one of the places you're going to want to go. And then looked around for an area to set up and have lunch. And then, of course, got our hero shot with all the rigs. After lunch, we packed everything up and jumped on 395 and started heading up to Alabama Hills. You can access Alabama Hills through Lone Pine, and once you get into Lone Pine, you can come in and there's a place called Face Rock. That is where we aired down before actually getting into the park. And the Face Rock's kind of cool. It's painted with a really cool face. And then once you pass that, you're officially in Alabama Hills, and instantly the geology changes. The rounded rock formations that you're seeing are the same geological makeup as the Sierras behind them. It's just these rocks were exposed to more weathering, so they've changed conformation. And this was Friday, so one of the first lines of business was to find a campsite. You can make reservations at Tuttle Creek Campground, but we were looking for dispersed camping. And the thing to note, if you look at a map of the area, is it's crisscrossed with a bunch of different parks. BLM, Inyo, the Alabama Hills National Scenic Area. So be very careful about where you pick your campsite, as it may not be a camping area, it may be a day use only area. Because the last thing you want to do is have to pack up everything you've unpacked and move to find a new location to camp. This area has a big filming history. The Lone Ranger, many other movies were filmed here. In Lone Pine, there's a film museum that's worth a stop in to learn about some of the locations and the films that were produced here. Finding a campground was a little bit more of an expedition than I am normally used to. This area has a lot of use, and again, tread lightly so that we can continue to enjoy these lands. Overall, though, it was a lot of fun to drive down the various roads around here, trying to find a campsite. One of the frustrating things, of course, is, we had a group of about 7 vehicles, and we'd get to an area that would be perfect for a lot of rigs, and it was filled with, one car. So, first come, first serve. Hope they enjoy it, and we continued down the road looking for another site, but didn't find anything here. So we bailed on Movie Flat and ended up way up north in the scenic hills area. And all in all, this turned out to be a really nice campsite. Not as level as some of the rigs would have liked for their tents, but they worked it out and got things level. The area had a great view across the valley. We were able to see the Sierras and some of the boulder structures in the valley. And one of the concerns was it was going to be windy, but at least on this day, we had very little wind at night, though you should always plan for heavy wind in this area. Everybody got set up, we were feeling in high spirits, and the view was just spectacular. Still snow on the eastern Sierras, beautiful vistas up and down the valley, and we enjoyed a very stunning sunset as everyone made their evening meal preparations. The night sky in this location was fabulously clear, so if you're into nighttime photography, this is the area for you. And after a long day of driving and after the campfire chit-chat, we all settled in for the night. Saturday, everybody got up, got fed, and we went out exploring. Now, we went out exploring kind of near where we camped, denoted in red, and at the same time kind of looking, where there was a potential campsite. Now, you are getting snow runoff in this area, though nowhere that you can't drive. And at this time of year, there were a lot of flowers in bloom, so it's really kind of a nice photography area. And there was a lot of ranching going on or homesteading going on in this area. So if you're lucky enough, you will come across old homestead sites or use sites that you can kind of explore around. And besides the early industries of the 1800s and homesteading and gold rush history of the area, there's also a historic early peoples presence, more modernly known through the Paiute Native Americans. So after a few hours of exploring the valley, we headed up towards Mount Whitney, trying to see if we could get to the campsite up there, but the road was completely closed. So it's getting later in the afternoon, and now we're in a search for a campsite. And I wish I had some really good advice on when's the best time to go, that you're assured to find a good campsite. I don't. And one of the kind of fun things was when we got to one campsite that was rather tight, because some of the rigs have to be level to set up their pop-ups properly. There was some very fun antics going on how to actually get everybody, nestled in together in this particular campsite. Yet, as all things do, it worked out. Everybody got set up, everyone got level, and we were able to get lunch ready for the afternoon. And this particular campsite is kind of off of the forest road, and the GPX for this route will be listed in the video description. And one thing I would like to highlight is Gaia does show this road going out, and it is a go-in and dead end. So apparently the rocks had fallen when the river overflowed, and it's not passable as a through road any longer. The nice thing about this campsite is it is located near water. It's right off of Hogback Creek. So there is a water source if you need to fill up water. And there was cell service at this location, so if you're looking for a location that has cell service so you can connect to the outside world, then this is actually a pretty good location to do that. We enjoyed the afternoon hiking and chit-chatting, and then sat around the campfire eating s'mores and telling stories. Now it's rolling into Sunday, so everybody's packing up and we're getting ready to see the last of the sights and then do the long trek back home, which is going to be another 7 or 8 hours to get back home. So we were wanting to get out of Alabama Hills, I think, kind of no later than 12 or 1, so we would get back, before midnight Sunday night. And there is a lot of things to see and do in Alabama Hills proper. You can check out all the locations of where the movies were filmed. You can look for the various arches that are in the park. You can look for, artifacts and early history. There's tons of geology, and depending on the time of year, if you're into nature or botanical photography, there's beautiful flowers that are, kind of scattered all throughout the rock formations. And if your passion is hiking and mountain biking, this is an excellent area to do that. There's a lot of developed trails that are hard packed and very visible, so that you can enjoy those activities as well. And if you're into off-roading and overlanding, this is a great area to get out. There's lots of area, once you're conscientious about it, for dispersed camping. And most of the roads are pretty good. So I think you would not get into trouble too badly in this area. Though, of course, remember, it's a desert area. Take extra water and be sure you take extra gas. This was a fabulous weekend spent with friends exploring an area that I had never been and that I will be going back to. Like, I have to see all the places some of these movies were filmed. And I hope as part of being out there that we cross trails. If you ever see Alice, please feel free to stop by and say hi. And until later, ADVTRES out.